The federal government has moved quickly to reassure small business that it's not deserting it. After yesterday's prevarication by the Finance Minister on the start date for small business tax cuts, the government has reaffirmed the July 1 start date. It's also announced it will appoint a commissioner for small business. The question now is whether the government can deliver on its promised tax cut for big business. Andrew Robertson reports.
What a difference a day makes. Yesterday on ABC Radio, the Finance Minister refused to commit to the proposed July 1 start date for the 1 percentage point cut to the company tax rate for small business. Today, the government has released draft legislation confirming small business will get its tax break on time.
Small business is vital to the Australian economy. It employs half of Australians and it makes up a third of our economy. Small business is such a lifeblood of our national prosperity.
And just to make sure small business knows the government is not neglecting it, the Prime Minister has announced the creation of the position of Small Business Commissioner.
The Small Business Commissioner will act as a one-stop shop, a place that small businesses can go when they need advice about the whole range of government programs, rather than having to puzzle their way through as to who to talk to.
It's the type of link with the government that small business has been lobbying for a long time.
A couple of weeks ago we found a small business minister in Cabinet, and that's as good as you're going to get when it comes to that level of decision making. And now we have a small business commissioner at the national level to make sure that the public sector considers small business, to make sure that we're never forgotten again.
But while small business has its commissioner and its tax cut in the bag, it's a different story for big business. The Coalition and the Greens are both planning to vote against a cut in the company tax rate for big business, which means the government may not be able to deliver. For the Greens, it's a matter of fairness.
Especially at a time when the government has problems on the revenue side with this budget and where tax as a proportion of GDP is falling well below what it used to be, even under John Howard. We don't think that this is the time to be giving a $2.4 billion handout to very large companies that are able to look after themselves.
Based on this year's earnings, if the company tax rate was 1 percentage point lower now, the big four banks, as well as BHP Billiton and Rio Tinto, would save nearly $700 million in tax. However, the business community says the Greens are being selective, pointing out that under the legislation, any company with a turnover of more than $2 million is regarded as big.
We have an awful lot of companies in Australia, tens of thousands of them, hundreds of thousands in fact, that are on the wrong side of this mining boom. We have 80% of the economy growing at 1%, the other 20 growing at 15 to 20, and we have a debate over not a tax cut but a tax reform that's going to help those companies really cope with this extraordinary competitive pressure they're under.
Whether it's a tax cut or tax reform, its future now depends on the government's ability to negotiate with its political opponents, and at the moment, the signs don't look good.